What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Cash Flow Conversations. Today I have a special guest, Josh Johnston, a fellow Michigander
That's
who
right.
I met in Nashville, Tennessee. Had no idea that he is from about 20 minutes where I'm from in Michigan. And Josh owns a consulting firm for digital marketing agencies that are trying to scale. So, Josh, it's good to have you here, dude.
Hey, thanks for having me, buddy. Good to see
What
you.
was your hometown in Michigan? Plymouth?
Yeah, Plymouth, Canton area. So yeah, I lived there for pretty much my whole life. But pretty close to Ann Arbor as well. So I normally tell people I'm from Ann Arbor because people don't normally know Plymouth Canton
Yeah,
when I say it, but they know Ann Arbor because like U of M football and all of
yeah,
that. So
yeah. Speaking of Ann Arbor, go green.
it's the worst.
That's a Michigan joke. Nobody else gets that one. But it's good to have you here in Nashville, man. You guys glad you moved?
Oh, 100%, man. Yeah, I mean, everything from the climate to just the energy in Nashville is just way different. So very happy that we're here now. Still like to go back to Michigan and visit, of course, but we definitely call Tennessee home now.
Yeah. People always ask why we moved, and it was like the easy answer is weather and politics.
Hmm.
But once you get here, what's keeping us here is the vibe, like you
Hmm.
mentioned. There's just a lot of good entrepreneurial minded people around here.
Yeah, yeah, great network for sure.
If you think about how many people hate where they live and they end up staying in that area because of what? What's the number one reason that people stay?
Probably because they're just comfortable.
Comfortable,
Family.
dude. Family.
Yeah.
I can't leave my family's here. Well, with digital, look, we're talking now. You're 30 miles away from where I am, and we're talking on a video camera. So the idea of having to stay somewhere in an uncomfortable place because of family or comfort, oof, man, got to get over that hump, huh?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we moved down here for job opportunity. That's the main reason that we came down here in the first place, and yeah, it was the best decision we made. We had to actually become adults and kind of leave the family behind, and actually do it on our own, which I think was a really good challenge for us, and it really made us like up level our own lives when we did move down here.
Beautiful. Would you ever go back?
No, no way, not a chance. Too many gray days in Michigan, so.
Bro, isn't that funny? I had to buy sunglasses moving down here.
It's
I was
so
talking,
true.
it is true, bro. I remember one year in Michigan, there was 100 days of clouds in a row.
It's horrible. Yeah, it's just so
So
cloudy
gray.
all the time. It's so gray. So,
And the
um,
roads are crap.
yeah, it's brutal. It's brutal.
Everything's under
So,
construction.
yeah, it does have some gems though. I will say that. It's really fun to visit. Go up north, Traverse
Yeah.
City, those types of places. Like those areas are to die
Yeah.
for in the summer. So,
Yeah, I'm adamant. July and August, a little bit of September, you cannot beat Northern Michigan on the lakes. It is the absolute most beautiful place in the world.
yep. Yeah, completely agree.
So we're down in Nashville now, which is wonderful because today it's going to be 80 degrees and up north it's like 50.
Yep. It's great.
So I tell people too, they say, would you ever move back? And we say no. And then they kind of look at me funny. And it's like, you don't know what you're going to get into until you actually take the step. And it's almost like in business, and we're going to talk about today that with your company and some of the decisions you made, you don't know the results until you actually put yourself in that position. So your company is called Hydra,
Correct. Yep.
and you guys help digital marketing agencies with operations and growing.
Yeah, essentially. So, it's very broad what we do, but it's very niche in the sense that we work with agencies. So, like, if I had to like really boil it down and give a little bit more elaborate response, digital agencies tend to break into like five separate lanes. Lead generation, so their ability to like actually market themselves and be able to attract clients that they can then service. Actual sales conversion, so their ability to take those leads that they're getting from their lead generation efforts and turn them into paying clients. And then fulfillment, which is, hey, how do we deliver what we promised on the sales side? And then HR, your ability to bring on team, train them up, be able to get the best talent possible, what we consider like a top talent, right? And then finance, right? You got to financially be able to run the business, understand your guys' profit margins, how things scale out, how to develop structures around team, and make sure that your projects stay profitable as you add more and more staff or more and more clients. So
And,
those are the main
and
things that we cover. It's very broad. There's a lot kind of nuance in between everything, but it's specific to the agency space.
well, when you put it down into the five categories, you're starting to create a framework.
Hmm.
I feel like you're big on frameworks.
Yeah, pretty big on frameworks. I mean, there's a lot of structure to it. It's like I came from the operations world, so that's majority of what I think in is a lot of frameworks and a lot of systemization. So yeah, like even how we consult with people is very systemized and has a methodology behind it and a framework behind it.
Well, a lot of these companies, I mean, any entrepreneur, you're starting out on your own.
Hmm.
And then you got to start hiring people. And the next thing you know, all of a sudden it's a business. And that's
Yep.
kind of where you come in. It's like, hey, don't learn by trial and error. We have a roadmap. We've been there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, our team has run multiple agencies, multiple seven-figure agencies with teams of 35 plus, and
Wow.
yeah, like we've done it before, and that's why a lot of people come to us is we have proven concepts that will build seven-figure, multi-seven-figure, and even eight-figure agencies, and that's a majority of who we work with right now.
Wow. So talk to me about how that started because, at some point you were a W 2 and then it
Hmm.
switched over to like a 1099 consultant about three
Yeah,
years ago.
I would say I'm like the ultimate employee. Uh, I've always had really good success in like anywhere that I've like worked for, and I've always been a really solid like number two or like management level employee. Just because I have a very systemized or operational mind. And so for me, it's like I can fill the gaps of a lot of entrepreneurs. So that's where I got my start. I knew I wanted to do entrepreneurship. I just didn't know where I would necessarily go. So I hitched my wagon to a couple stallions. And just kind of rode along and built some really awesome businesses. Probably the most prevalent one, or the one that is the latest venture, was an agency called Welling Media, which we were able to grow and build to a multiple seven-figure run rate. A team of about 25 with that, but creative agency out of Franklin, Tennessee, and we had about a 10,000 square foot studio. We service some of the most prominent brands in the direct consumer e-commerce space. If you've heard of like Snow Teeth Whitening or the Hoodie or things like that, these are like eight-figure e-commerce brands that we were able to serve through our agency services. And yeah, so that's kind of like where I got my start. Our business went under an acquisition back in 2020, and then after the acquisition, I decided to take a step away from the business and kind of move into my own gig. And so I started consulting with other agencies, just kind of one off, just kind of filling time in between, and just trying to figure out like, do I want to work for someone else? Because I got a lot of job offers after that of like, hey, like come work alongside of us. We'll bring you in as our COO or something along those lines, and we have a spot for you if you're interested.
Yeah.
And there's definitely some really big opportunities to go and do that, which is I'm very grateful to have those opportunities. But in all, I knew I wanted to try something on my own, and it was one of those pivotal points where it's like, if I go and work for someone else again, I don't know if I'm ever going to get this opportunity to go and try it on my own. So that's where I entered into the entrepreneurship world and started a consultancy, and which back then it was called 321 Pocket Ops, which is such a random name. But started that consultancy and was just trying to figure some things out. I didn't really know what it took to run a consulting firm. So it was a lot of learning lessons in the first year. Eventually, I brought on a partner into the consulting firm as well, and then we rebranded into Hydra and actually started to press the lever on growth there. So kind of a long-winded story, but yeah, that's kind of how we got here today.
No, I love it. It's dope, man, because you don't know exactly what's going to happen until you start taking the step in that direction, though.
Yep.
And so many people are scared by these future fictitious problems that don't even exist.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't even go in the direction. And they'll never learn what could have been because they didn't try.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, I mean, you got to take the dive at some point. It's very similar to us moving to Tennessee. It's right. It's like you're taking a gamble by moving to a place that you've never been before, or
And
you
what's
don't
the
have
worst case
friends or family.
scenario? You don't have friends
Yeah,
and family. Worst case scenario, you move back.
yeah, that's it. And that was the scenario that we kind of rolled through our head in both places of like, hey, if we don't like Tennessee, if it doesn't work out in Tennessee, we can always go back. And same thing with business. It's like we can always go and find a job if it's not working out, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and like I felt comfortable in my skill set to be able to build a business. I've built alongside of other entrepreneurs quite often, so it's like I knew the ropes. It's just taking action, and there were a lot of big learning curves between being an operator and being a founder or CEO. So having to adjust that, and taking more of the responsibility. But I would say, like, I mean, we had a very unfair advantage starting our very first business, with just the knowledge that we came in with, like being able to understand how to operationally have a successful business and protect your margins and things like that. I mean, we knew it like the back of our hand, so it made us successful almost immediately.
Yeah, that's dope. That is a specific niche for sure. Is the operation side? You're almost like a fractional COO.
Yeah, yeah, I would say very similar. We don't do a ton of like fractional work necessarily. It's more of like a done with you. So it's like very like consulting. Ask of like, hey, this is what you should do. And here's the frameworks to do it. But we're not going to go in and like actually click the buttons for people, and set everything up. Like the terminology I like to use is like we like to teach people how to fish, not fish for them, right? Because we want to build a sellable asset one day. So say like we did done for you lead generation, right? So we provided the leads for the agency, which we could easily do, but it's not an asset to the business, right? At any point in time, our business could go away and all that
Yeah,
lead flow that they were getting from us dries up. And so
yeah.
our goal whenever we're working with clients is to build the strongest asset possible. So if they do decide to go under an acquisition, and some people want to do an acquisition, some people don't, but here's the thing is like I feel like most people have a price where they're like, hey, I would go under an acquisition if I
I would
got this
consider
price
it at
point.
that point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly, right? So we always like to be prepared for those scenarios. And so what we do is like we like to teach people how to fish so it becomes a sellable asset one day. Because if you're missing part of the formula in any of those lanes and it's not solidified through you and your team, if it's contracted out to someone else, it's less sellable, right? And it's less people are less interested in buying it because it's like almost buying something with batteries not included, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah, I like it. The teaching people how to actually fish rather than it's a good analogy.
Yeah,
So when you started, you were in Franklin, Tennessee,
I was. Yep,
a cool little spot, you and the wifey, and then
yep.
you ended up moving downtown. Talk to me about how you decided to do that because
Yeah,
that's not a little move.
yeah. So I mean, I wouldn't say I'm super young by any means, but I'm 32 now. When we moved downtown, we were 30. And it was one of those things that
You just
we
love
always
Broadway
wanted.
so much.
No, not necessarily. No, we don't go on Broadway too often. Like, obviously we're on Broadway, but
Yeah,
yeah, it was more of like the energy and the vibes down here, and then also just the connections. I mean,
yeah.
I've met so many great entrepreneurs down here, and expanded my network vastly. I love Franklin. Franklin's a really awesome spot, but I will say for being 30, it's a little sleepy.
Hmm.
A lot of families. I don't have a family, so a lot of families. So it's like my wife and I, we just weren't ready to like settle down yet. So we wanted
Yeah,
to experience a downtown life at some point, and so we decided like, hey, this is a good opportunity for us to move out there, and actually give it a shot. So, and we love it so far. We'll move out of here probably within the next year or two, because like we do want some property and some land and whatnot. But for the most part, like downtown has served us very well.
well,
For the most
you
part.
have a good social. You have a good social. I don't know if it's a social media team or like. I'm
Yep.
not a
Yeah, we have a
marketer,
team.
and you have a videographer that does great stuff. So you have some really cool organic content that comes out, and the views from where you are downtown is
Yeah.
incredible, man.
Yeah, they're beautiful, man. Yeah, we're very fortunate. We overlook I don't what river runs through here. I don't even know. Uh,
Cumberland.
Cumberland. Yeah, there we go. So our apartment overlooks the Cumberland and looks at the Batman building. If the listeners are familiar with the Batman building, it's the AT&T building down here. So and we're right on Broadway, right across from Bridgestone Arena. It's a really cool spot. It's fun. There's a lot of activity. It's like if there's a hockey game, I could literally buy some nosebleeds and just walk over there and just have a good time. It's fun, man. We just got season tickets to the Nashville the Titans. So
Nice.
that's been a really fun new thing that we've been doing as well. So it's like every Sunday we just walk over there and go to the game. So yeah,
Dude, that is
it's
super
been
cool.
yeah, it's been a fun transition. It's definitely way different than living in Franklin. The energy's a little bit higher.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were just looking for a change of pace. That was the whole reason.
Yeah, I love it, man. Part of me is a little jealous because I never actually did that. I have a family, I have three little girls, and the joke in Franklin is the prerequisite to move here is you need a stroller
True. Yeah,
because
yeah, very
everybody's
true.
got a little family, and it's cool because you meet people like, like trick or treating, everyone's walking around and they have their little Yeti with their
Yep.
kids running up and down. It's like, is that coffee in that Yeti, or are you
Oh
guys
yeah.
hanging out?
Definitely not coffee. Definitely not
No.
coffee.
So when you moved downtown, though, I'm imagining that your rent was going to be a little bit higher.
Yes, yeah, definitely. It was definitely higher.
And,
So we
and people
moved.
listening don't understand the view that Josh has in his place. But that condo, when I saw that, I was like, holy smokes, that is beautiful. And I can only imagine everybody who sees that says the same thing. So you probably got a rate of return in the business world just by
Oh,
having that asset.
yeah, for sure. I mean, it really is like a hot spot. So it's like anytime any of my friends come down here, like they know where I live. And so like business friends, personal friends, but on the business side, everything from the content, organic content that we shoot to the ads that we shoot. It's like we have some of the most incredible visuals down here. That you could possibly have in a downtown area. So, yeah, I mean, the rate of return is great. We host events down here now. So overall, the rate of return's been incredible for us. So
I love it. And you don't even know what you're getting into until you take that step. So you've done three of those. You moved, you went on your own in business, and then you moved your headquarters to a beautiful spot where everybody wants to be around.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So and it's paid off so far. But it was measured steps. Like we knew that we could afford it, and it wasn't something like, oh shoot, let's take a gamble on this, and see if we can afford it or like make it to where we can afford it. Like we could afford it coming down. So
Yeah. So with Hydra, when you're working with your clients, then you talk to me about some of the results that you're helping these guys get.
yeah, so I mean, it kind of ranges. Depends what we're coming in for because sometimes it's not very what I would say like revenue focus of like moving top line up, right? Which sometimes we come in and we move top line up, but other times it's like, hey, we come in to stabilize businesses or make them more operationally sound from a
Yeah.
standpoint of like driving more profit to the bottom line or helping them with some of their like HR systems where it's like, hey, like we have a hard time finding talent. Which of course contributes to the top line in some way, but some things are less directly correlated to moving top line revenue than others, right? So wide range of solutions that we can offer. But I mean, we've had clients go from 40K a month to 250K a month. We've had clients go from all sorts of revenue ranges and increase those. We've put in operational systems that have brought 10 to 15% more to the bottom line each month. So it really depends what we're coming in for and where they're trying to go to. Like some entrepreneurs we work with, they're uh very bullish on the growth that they want. So it's like, hey, like we'll sacrifice profit in order to have top line gains. Then we have other agencies that are like, hey, like I want this to be more of a lifestyle business. I want as much profit pumping into this thing as possible. I want to have a certain amount of clients. I really don't want to exceed that threshold because I don't want to manage high leverage or high level teams. I want to keep it relatively simple and I want to bring maybe 80K in a month and have 50K of that be profit.
How often do you have a client that knows what needs to be fixed? And how important is it to know what you just described? I want more top line or I want more lifestyle. Like I don't need to
Yeah,
make gross more
yeah.
money.
I guess like to answer the first question of like, do they know? I think for the most part they do. Um, it's like almost the best thing that I could like explain it or the best thing that I can relate it to is like going to the doctor, right? It's like you go in, you have a broken arm, but you don't know how to fix your broken arm, right?
Yeah.
Or you need help fixing your broken arm.
Yeah.
That's the best thing that I can relate it to is like we're almost like the doctors prescribing the medicine or putting on the cast in order to fix the problem, right? That's what we come in and specifically do. So
Yeah.
I would say like yeah, like sometimes they know that there's a problem, but sometimes they come in and like, hey, I think I have cancer, and they're like, well, you don't have cancer, you just have a cold, and we just need to patch the cold, right? And it's like sometimes it's a scenario like that where it's like, okay, they don't know what the true ailment or what the true problem is or the true ailment is, but they know that there's a problem and that it needs to be fixed, and then we can come in and actually figure out what that is.
And so do you have packages for people to join? Do you make it easy for them,
Yeah,
like an a la carte kind of thing?
no, it's definitely not a la carte. It's prescriptive, right? So they're not picking anything, right? So we're prescribing what the solution is, because if they knew what the solution was, they would have done it, right?
Right. Right.
Versus us coming in, and like it's less of like, hey, pick and choose the package that you want, and it's more of like, hey, where are you currently at? What's the biggest challenge? Where are you trying to go? And then from there, I can tell you, hey, this is what's best for them,
So
right?
each program is going to be kind of customized for the client.
Yes and no. We have one program that's pretty like cut and paste of like, hey, this is a pretty regular methodology that we use, and it's pretty consistent on like the delivery of what we do. But we might be working on different parts of the business. But the way that we have it structured is like we can those 5 lanes that I talked about at the beginning, we can really plug into any of those lanes at any point in time and go and fix them, right?
Mm.
So
Mhm.
some people come in, they have lead gen problems. Some people are great at lead gen, but they have sales conversion problems. So it depends on where they're at, but we lay out all 5 agency lanes and we're able to plug them in exactly where they need to go in order for them to fix whatever the problem is. So, yeah. So is it? It's once again, it's prescriptive, right? So it's less like that a la carte where it's like, hey, like I just want to fix this. Like I'm telling you what you need to fix.
So because what's interesting to me is when you talk about business, there's only two ways to make money or to make more money. You
Mm-hmm.
increase your top line, or your top line stays the same and you keep more of what you're already making.
Mm-hmm.
How often are people wanting to increase their top line, and you're looking at it going, if you did that, you would just explode internally?
Yeah, yeah. A lot of times people don't have the infrastructure to really scale, whether that's team structure or systems behind their team to actually be able to give them the training that they need, or let them have the know-how on how to fulfill for clients at a high level. Sometimes it's a leadership team issue as well. Is like there's no leaders in place to delegate the work to, so it all falls back on the founder. And if we add more workload, it eventually just implodes.
Would you put a leader in each one of those 5 lanes?
Correct. Eventually, yes. Eventually, yes. Yep. So, I know we were talking about Taylor Welch a little bit earlier, but like he has a really cool map in his new book, The Wealthy Consultant, that he kind of lays all of it out on. But basically, I might butcher this, but I believe it goes like, you have your like your founder level, then you have your C-suite level, and then you have your director level, right? And the idea behind this is that there's essentially tiers underneath you in order to manage each lane effectively. And if you look at like a C-suite, especially for an agency, you'll notice that there's like a chief marketing officer. Well, that's your marketing lane. Now, might also go into a little bit of your fulfillment lane, depending on if your team does marketing as part of the fulfillment. But it's like that falls under that lane. And then you might have like a chief sales officer, right? A CSO. Well, that falls under your sales lane. Fulfillment. You might have a head of fulfillment or operations manager or COO that stays over that. And really, COO will overlook pretty much all departments and collect that data, bring it back up to the CEO. But he might be overlooking fulfillment, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then you have like a head of HR, or like a CFO, right? Chief Finance Officer, right? So they manage individual lanes. Now, most businesses don't need those positions for the size that they are. Like for someone to have a full C-suite, like I think you should probably be at like 20 million to have a full C-suite. It just
Wow.
doesn't make a ton of sense. Now you could have directors, but directors are different than C-level as far as like definition of their position goes.
Interesting. So what is the size of an ideal client that you can have the most impact on?
Yeah, so we work with a range of clients. We definitely don't work with like beginner agencies. So if like, you know, they don't have the skill set. So the first thing for us is like they have to have a skill set in order for us to work with them. We're not teaching them the tactical skills on how to do their job, right? So like I'm not teaching someone how to run paid ads for an ecom brand. I'm not teaching someone how to build a creative studio, right? They should have some traction and they should have a skill set that they can lean into and bring on team to help grow, right? So at a minimum, and this is where like kind of like the numbers come in. Most of our clients have to be doing at least 30K a month in order to work with us. It's just where we can have the most impact with people. But we work with agencies that do mid 6 figure per year, 7 figure and 8 figures per year. So that's kind of the range that we work with currently.
So 30 grand a month is typical for top line revenue for somebody who's going to need your services and to break
Yeah,
through anything larger than that.
yeah, on the low end, and then anything larger than that, we're very effective as well. So I think our largest client brings in about 1 million a month.
Nice. Yeah, because if somebody's starting out, you're making 10, 15 grand a month, they don't really have an operations issue. They have a fulfillment issue at that point, right? They got to get good at what they're doing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, on the lower end, it's usually a combination of three things. It's going to be leads, sales, and fulfillment. Whether that's on the HR side of like, hey, like we don't have the correct team in place, or we don't have systems to guide the team to fulfill in the right capacity. So,
All right, I'm going to ask you a random question here.
yeah, hit me.
Because I'm a little older than you, and I'm kind of learning about this AI stuff.
Uh-huh.
Where do you see AI in your business? Is it going to help or is it going to hurt?
It's definitely going to help. Agencies will become much more profitable through AI because we're just going to need less people. So I think it'll be a little bit more detrimental to the people in the agency space. So my biggest recommendation of like if you're an employee at an agency, learn how to use AI and how to utilize it, because chances are if you know how to use it, you can use it as a tool and you'll be the employee that sticks around
You'll be the
because
asset.
you'll be the asset, exactly, because it still needs to be prompted in the right way in order for it to be effective. Like it's not just gonna. I think we're still pretty far out from it just like full on takeover. Like, hey, you're gonna be able to run everything through AI. But no, I think it's gonna be a massive benefit to agencies in the short term. Because it's gonna allow us to utilize it to run more profitably because we're going to be able to create more bandwidth. You're going to be able to get more work done through AI, whether that's copywriting, even creative nowadays. It's like you can pump out creative through AI as well.
It's crazy
And
what you can have AI do.
yeah, and it's only getting better. So I'm excited for it. We use it a ton in our consultancy currently. And for us, like so everyone can kind of get a picture. We run a 6-figure per month business, and we have 7 employees in total. That's including myself. And so for us, like we have very little overhead because we use. Obviously we drink a little bit of our own Kool-Aid. We put systems in place for ourselves, but we also use AI a ton with what we do to help us like formulate, a lot of our resources. So
I think the pushback for AI is the flip side of the coin that you said was good. So it's going to help agencies run more lean because they don't have the employees, and employees with the laws and paychecks and benefits and all that. And then there's a lot that comes with more employees.
yeah,
What is it going to do for people? People say AI is going to take our job. So how would you
yeah.
respond to that?
Some of them, yes. It will take some of your jobs for sure. Yeah, I think it's one of those things where it's like you're gonna have to learn it or kind of get left behind. There are gonna be certain jobs that go away because of it, but it's also gonna create new opportunities as well.
Right.
So I think it's gonna be a very even trade. I don't think anything's gonna go anywhere anytime soon. It's just
It's
gonna be
almost like what
an
you said.
equal trade-off.
An equal trade-off, yeah. So
Hmm.
it's like you not knowing what's going to happen moving down here, not knowing what's going to happen starting your own company or moving into that downtown. We don't know exactly what's going to happen, but there's going to be opportunities that present themselves.
Yeah,
And you look back and like think of like the when John Deere made a tractor. Well, now
hmm,
who's going to be plowing the field? Well, not you anymore, and that's a good
yeah,
thing.
that's a
And
great
so
thing.
the takeaway is get better at something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You have to learn a different skill set. I've been saying this for ever since like Tesla came out with their automated, driving. Like truck drivers, you're gonna need to figure like this isn't your lifetime career if you're just getting started in it, because that's gonna take over for sure. Like truck
Yeah,
drivers will be obsolete at some point. Um,
they already have autonomous driving cars and taxis in
yeah,
California.
exactly, exactly. So it's just the next logical step that it would be truck drivers next, and um, you know, so it's like one of those things where it's like, hey, you better learn something new, or you got to figure out what the next step is if
Yeah,
they start eliminating those jobs, because
yeah.
it is a very real thing that could happen.
Yeah, because people at the end of the day, people are still operating the tractors in the fields, right? If you
Yeah,
want to do manual work, but then those cars, now that you have all this AI, there's new opportunity in developing that kind of stuff too. It might be a different skill set, but
yeah,
that's the good news is that we're human and that we learn how to adjust and pivot. Too many people get stuck in a lane and they just think they're done, and they could be in their 40s and they think they're I'm too old to pivot. I
yeah.
feel so bad for them.
I know. Yeah, it's I mean there's so much that you can do. I mean, you have access to the best learning resource possible, which is Google, right? It's like we pretty much learn any skill set that we need to nowadays.
And not pay a college 6 figures to go do it and take
Yep.
4 years. You could do it in 4 weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I think that's amazing. I think the idea of college will be obsolete by the time my kids go to school. I think the
Yeah.
university of YouTube is going to be a lot more important.
Yeah, I think so. I think it depends on what you're wanting to get into. Like, I still want my doctor to go to college, probably.
Not just learn it on somebody's
Yeah,
online
yeah,
course.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. So I think certain jobs like college is still going to be really important for. But
Yeah,
I mean, we've already seen the massive shift into like the digital landscape, and like a lot of kids are wanting to be like digital entrepreneurs. It's like
which is
that's
awesome, man. You got these kids in their 20s. There's more kids in their 20s making millions than ever in the history of mankind.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, but there's still something to be said for like people that need to do like the trades and things like that. There's a huge opportunity there right now. If you try and call it like a plumber or something, you'll actually find out that they have very long lead times now because there's just not a lot of new plumbers coming through the woodwork. So I think we'll see a shift and a swing back towards the trades at some point because there's going to be a massive lack of those skill sets. But I
And what
think we'll see
happens
it
to
see a
pricing
swing.
when demand is high and product is low? What happens to the pricing?
Yeah, pricing is going to go up for sure.
So they'll be even more profitable.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And that's what will at that point of like that pinnacle is going to be the point where we see the swing come back the other way and people start to enter back into the trades a little bit more because they're gonna be like, oh shoot, I can make how much money being a plumber
Yeah,
or being an electrician, right?
yeah.
Like those guys make crazy money.
They really. I have clients that are electricians. They make well into the a couple, three, four, six figures. I mean, they're
Yep.
doing very well.
Yeah, they do well. So
I have a master's in architecture. Cost me well over six figures to get the degree. And when I got my job in a very prestigious residential firm, I was making 37,000 a year.
isn't that crazy?
Yeah, crazy is
Yeah.
one way to put it.
Yeah, that's funny.
So, what do you see with the digital? Because, like, my opinion is, if somebody wants to make money on the side, pick up a camera and learn how to be a videographer or photographer because so many people want this digital marketing for their business. Where
Hmm.
do you see the digital marketing business going in the next 10 years?
I mean, I think it's only going to grow. I think we're just scratching the surface. Like we're very much in the infancy of like think about like how much the digital landscape has evolved in the last 10 years. Like it's really only been, what the internet, when did the internet come out? You were around for that time.
Dude, I can't swear. Can I
What?
swear on this podcast? I don't know.
90s, right?
Yeah, probably 90s. Yeah, 90s, I think, is when
Late
it started
80s,
getting
something like
tested.
that, right?
Yeah.
So if you think about like the entire time that the internet has been around, and then you know, relatively recently, within the last 10 years, like when it really started to pick up, and things went really digital,
Social media.
social media boom, right? Um, it's like it's only been a handful of years. It hasn't been that long.
It
So
hasn't
we're
been
still
long.
yeah, we're still very much in the infancy of like I think what the potential is here. I mean, especially with AI coming into place, and then also like augmented reality. I think there's a lot of new opportunities, and we're gonna see just a lot of changes over the next 10 years. But I think it's only gonna grow. I don't think it's definitely not gonna get smaller.
Yeah. And for anybody listening and they're saying, how do you get a side gig or do something, how do you get out of your W-2 job? Look for the opportunities. I'm telling you, man, there are so many opportunities, I think, in the digital marketing world because so many businesses haven't been disrupted. So many business categories have not been disrupted from what can be
Yeah.
done online.
Yeah, I mean, look at the trades as the perfect example. Like they're still very much in the Stone Age, or a majority of them are. It's like you go to their website and you're like, did I just teleport to the 90s? Like, what is this? It's like it's hard to navigate. It's slow. It's like
Yeah.
you could even do website design and development for
Yeah.
specifically trades and probably absolutely kill it.
Yeah. Josh, thanks so much, man, for hanging out with me. So, all right, let's leave everybody with this. What do you say for anybody who's got a W-2 that's thinking about doing a 1099? How do you help them get out of their own way? Any final
Yeah.
thoughts?
Um, it's tough because there's a lot of comfortability and there's a lot of safety staying as a W-2 employee. Um, at some point, you just got to make the leap. But I would say your day job is usually probably only 40 hours a week, if that. And some of your jobs, you probably have a lot of free time in between, breaks and all the other random stuff that you probably waste time on. Utilize that time to start learning a new skill set, listening to podcasts, things like that. That will allow you to build a skill set that you can then, you know, trade in for revenue and start your side gig. So that's where I would get started. But at some point, you just have to make the leap. It's never comfortable. It's never gonna feel as if it's gonna be successful. But I mean, that's the thing is like when you get like a true 40 hours or like 60 hours a week to work on a business or work on your side hustle, I mean, it just works out. Like you get so much time to actually do it.
Yeah.
And you make it work. It's what is it, Parkinson's law? It's like the the container that you have, like it will fit inside of that container. So it's like if you need to make 5 grand a month, like you'll find a way to make 5 grand a month if you push yourself. So
I love it, dude. I love it. Thanks so much for being here, Josh.